Ladies and gentlemen, beloved friends, there's something stirring in your spirit right now, a still, small voice that whispers in the quiet of your heart. This person, this one, is your true love. You can't explain it. You can't measure it. But something within you, deeper than logic, stronger than reason, tells you it's true. You may call it intuition. The world calls it a sixth sense. I call it a glimpse, a whisper from the Spirit of God. Love is not a coincidence. True love is not a random encounter. It's not swiping right. It's not chemistry alone. And it's certainly not just convenience. It is divine orchestration. Yes, your sixth sense is right. That person who keeps coming to mind, who pulls your heart even when they're far away, that person may very well be your true love. But you will face trials, be tested. You will have to fight to keep it, because every great love story ordained by heaven must walk through the valley before it stands on the mountain. There's a stirring deep within the human spirit that goes beyond logic, beyond reason, beyond anything that can be explained by science or psychology. It's often referred to as intuition or a sixth sense, a gut feeling that something is right, or that someone is meant to be in your life. You may not have all the facts. You may not understand why your heart is drawn to this person, but you feel it. You sense it. You know it without being able to prove it. That deep inner knowing is not something random. It is not a mere emotional impulse. It is, more often than we realize, the quiet prompting of God's Spirit. We were created not just as physical beings, but as spiritual beings. And within that spiritual framework, God has designed us to be sensitive to His voice. Sometimes that voice speaks through Scripture, sometimes through circumstances, and sometimes through a gentle whisper that resonates in our hearts. When you sense a divine connection to someone, when your spirit seems to recognize something holy and right in a person's presence, that may very well be God giving you a glimpse of His plan. It may not come with flashing signs or a heavenly chorus, but rather in the form of peace, a still small voice saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Too many people ignore this prompting. They brush it off, chalk it up to imagination, or let fear drown it out. Others allow the noise of the world, the opinions of friends, the pressure of timing, the fear of rejection, to override what their spirit already knows. But Scripture tells us that the Spirit bears witness with our spirit. That means God's Spirit can confirm in your heart what your mind doesn't yet understand. That quiet certainty about someone's place in your life might be more than emotional attraction. It could be spiritual revelation. There are moments in life when you meet someone and something inside of you awakens. You find yourself unusually at ease, deeply known, or drawn to them in a way that is unexplainable. You may finish each other's sentences or feel as though you've known them forever. You may feel a sense of destiny, a sense of peace, a sense of safety. That doesn't always mean the journey with that person will be easy or that you won't face trials. But it does mean God might be nudging you to pay attention. True love that's inspired God often begins in the soul, not the senses. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as a whisper, as light as a breeze, as gentle as a nudge on the heart. Yet it is powerful, and it leaves a lasting impression. That's because it originates in the spiritual realm, where God is already working things together for your good. You may be praying for love, asking God to reveal your future spouse, and the answer may not come in a vision or a dream, but in the form of persistent peace that arises every time you think of that person. It's important to test these feelings in prayer. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it's from God. But when you have that sixth sense, that spiritual tug that keeps drawing you toward a certain individual, take it to God. Ask Him for wisdom. Ask Him for confirmation. He is not a God of confusion. He will not lead you into emotional chaos. Promptings come with peace. And when He speaks to your spirit, it aligns with His word and His timing. Often, the enemy tries to counterfeit what God creates. He'll stir infatuation, obsession, and distraction to confuse your spirit. That's why discernment is key. But when it is God, when your sixth sense is truly spirit-led, it will not push you into panic. It will lead you in peace. You won't feel pressured. You'll feel prepared. You won't be consumed by anxiety. You'll be covered in assurance. And even if things don't unfold immediately, even if the road is slow or uncertain, that quiet inner voice will remain consistent, gently reassuring you that what you feel is real, and what God has joined, no one can separate. God often gives us glimpses of His plan before it fully manifests. That sixth sense may be His way of saying, I'm working on something sacred. Trust me. So don't ignore the whisper. Don't silence the nudge. That feeling in your spirit just might be divine confirmation that the person you keep thinking about, praying about, and sensing deeply in your soul was never just anyone. They were sent for a reason, and your spirit recognized them before your mind ever caught up. When love is real, when it's ordained by something greater than human emotion or attraction, it will come under fire. It's a truth most people don't realize until they're in the middle of the battle. Many believe that if something is from God, it will be smooth, painless, and perfectly timed. But the reality is quite the opposite. When something is holy, especially a love story written by the hand of God, it becomes a threat to the enemy. And whatever threatens darkness will always be targeted. If your heart is sensing that this person is your true love, if your spirit is holding on to them with peace and hope, don't be surprised when the storms come. Connection is not just a romantic one. It carries spiritual weight, and that makes it dangerous to the forces that want to see you broken, distracted, and defeated. You may start experiencing confusion where once you felt clarity. Misunderstandings may erupt out of nowhere. Temptations you thought you'd conquered may rise up again, not because you are weak, but because something powerful is being challenged. The enemy does not waste his energy on things that are meaningless. He targets what is precious. He attempts to break what is sacred. He attacks what is chosen. And if you and this person are being led God, you will not be exempt from this battle. In fact, your relationship will likely come under greater pressure precisely because it carries a calling. A spiritual warfare doesn't always look like dramatic events. Sometimes it's subtle, small arguments, distance, miscommunication, and fear. Grace. Sometimes it's the voice in your head saying, this is too hard. Maybe it's not meant to be. But difficulty is not a sign that something is wrong. In fact, His grace. Resistance is often the clearest sign that something is right. The opposition is not always a red flag. It can be a confirmation that you are stepping into territory that the enemy doesn't want you to claim. The devil knows that two people walking in unity and purpose can shake the kingdom of darkness. He fears it. So he works overtime to sow doubt, create division, and stir insecurity. That's why you must be rooted not just in emotion, but in truth. Feelings will come and go. Circumstances will rise and fall. But if your connection is based on a spiritual foundation, you will have something stronger than the storms. You will have an anchor. And that anchor must be the presence of God in both your hearts. Cannot withstand spiritual attack with emotional effort. You need prayer. You need discernment. You need the armor of God. True love is not a playground. It's a battlefield. It is the place where purpose is birthed and the future is shaped. The devil doesn't mind casual flings or superficial attachments. But when two people start seeking God together, when they begin to dream his dreams and reflect his character, hell takes notice. This is why it's important to give up at the first sign of struggle. Many God-ordained relationships never reach their full potential, not because they weren't real, but because the individuals involved weren't prepared for the spiritual resistance. They mistook hardship for a lack of blessing, but the blessing is often hidden inside the burden. The beauty is often wrapped in battle. If you believe this person is your true love, and the peace of God confirms it in your spirit, then prepare to fight for it. Not through force, manipulation, or desperation, but through prayer, patience, and perseverance. You will need to remind yourself why you believed in this person to begin with. You will need to remember the peace that led you to them, because there will be days when everything else says to walk away. And on those days, your spirit must speak louder than your feelings. You must lean into God more than your doubts. You must understand that resistance is not always the enemy trying to stop you. It may be God trying to strengthen you. He allows the testing not to harm you, but to refine what you have. A love that is never tested cannot be trusted. But a love that survives the storm is a love that is truly rooted in something eternal. Every couple that's ever made a lasting impact in God's kingdom has had to go through fire. They've had to be misunderstood, tempted, torn, and tried, but they stayed, they prayed, they endured. And in that endurance, they were transformed. So when the attacks come, and they will, don't panic, don't run, don't assume the worst. Instead, take it as a signal. Something holy is being born. Something pure is under threat. And that means it's worth fighting for. Timing is everything in the divine narrative. You may have met the right person. You may feel the stirring in your spirit, the quiet assurance that this connection is real, even sacred. But even if God has confirmed that this person is your true love, that doesn't automatically mean it is time to move forward. One of the greatest challenges in life and love is learning to align your desire with God's timing. Because the right person at the wrong time can still lead to heartbreak, confusion, and loss. Divine love is not just about who, it's about when. Just as a seed planted in the wrong season will fail to bloom, a relationship rushed before its time can collapse under pressure it wasn't built to withstand. There is a process God takes his people through, and that